4th. Thanks for joining us here on ARC Rochester. I'm Abby Fridman.
And I'm Dan Schreck. We still have a lot more to come here on ARC, but we do want to turn to our next guest this morning and talk about an important message for families.
Yeah, a new case report from the American Academy of Pediatrics has a warning on water beads, a new warning. Water beads are a common toy that can be used for sensory regulation or even decoration.
Yeah, the report, though, warns parents that these beads are very easy to swallow. And this morning we have Dr. Elizabeth Murray from Golisano Children's Hospital to talk to us more about that. Doc, what does this new report say?
So what it does is it outlines a family's story of their experience. And so I think we've talked about water beads here a lot. A couple weeks ago, even, I think I mentioned it, in that, people, I think they know the concern is if a child swallows them, they'll continue to get bigger, they can cause a bowel obstruction. In this case, what they discovered is that some of the water beads that are still able to make it into this country, even though they do not follow the guidelines, they do not meet the safety standards that our consumer product safety organization set, they still make it into the United States via online mechanisms, and they have various toxic chemicals in them. So in this situation, we have a child who is 13 months old, happy, healthy, totally fine. Big sister really wanted some water beads. Parents did all the right things. They kind of looked into it. They said, how can the older child play with them safely? What should we be doing? They did everything right, but still the little one got into them. They didn't know. And suddenly she started having these weird symptoms where she seemed really fussy. She started to have rashes. All of a sudden, she wasn't babbling and talking as much. So all of these kind of unusual things that doctors couldn't figure out for months and months and months. And she got worse and worse and worse. And they discovered that, in fact, after she started throwing up, they got some additional imaging. They discovered that she had some water beads in her intestines, not causing blockage, but being there and leaching out these chemicals. So she was having neurotoxic side effects from these chemicals that should never have been in her body. They were able to remove them. She's trending towards improvement. She's super cute. If you look at the mom's social media accounts, you can see her, bigger kid now, not a little baby anymore, but it's just really a harrowing story.
It really is. So then, just to clarify, the baby consumed the water beads at one point. This wasn't like a constant thing, constant eating. It was, she ate them once, they stayed in her system, maybe not necessarily causing that bowel obstruction, but just staying in her body. One time was all it took.
We think so. Probably it's it's kind of hard to know. The sister had these available to her as a toy, but that was the thought. But again, if they spilled, they tried to vacuum them up. The sister would use them on a table, in a container. Again, all the things we talk about using them safely were in place. And I think, when we involve families, as doctors, when we involve families, it's so important because all the data I share with you on this show, those are real people behind those numbers. If I tell you that we had 4 children in New York State pass away from flu last week, which we did. When we hear that 8,000 children over the past 5 years have been cared for in emergency departments because of water bead ingestion, those are real people behind those stories. And it's very easy to kind of say, oh, well, I'll be careful, I'll be safer. I can do better somehow as a parent. But when you see them and you meet these families, you realize, wait, they're just like me. They're just like me. And they're careful and they're responsible and they're doing all the right things. And tragedy can still happen. And that's why we're at the point now where we need to say, water beads need to go away.
And they too are, they too are people that said, oh, this is something that happens to other families. This doesn't happen in our house, won't happen to us.
Right. And they did everything right. And luckily we have a situation where this little one is trending towards improvement and she's doing a lot better now, but it took a long time, and luckily her parents are super amazing, and her mom has really been this amazing warrior advocate and also willing to share their story. Again, these powerful stories. When we involve parents, we can do great things.
And I mean, I am not a parent here, so I really have no idea, but I think that also emphasizes the importance of being that advocate for your child. Mom and dad knew something is wrong here. The baby is not acting the way that she normally should, or how we think that she's supposed to. And so they kept trying to figure out what was wrong.
And those things can be really tricky because, again, her symptoms initially were kind of vague. And, kids have rashes, kids act weird sometimes, and these things all happen, but it was really over that course of time where her parents, in conjunction with her medical providers, were able to say, wait a minute, now we have another thing, now we have another thing, now we have a new symptom. And so that it was just over, it took, unfortunately, over that time because there was not one clear aha. We know the other concern for the water beads, they get big, they cause a big blockage in the intestines. The child starts throwing up. We can see something unusual on the imaging. That's a easier thing. We can figure that out very quickly. But again, when we had these kind of vague things going on, and again, these were water beads that should never have been able to get to her because, again, not through any fault of the family, but that's what the recalls are all about. The recalls that we've heard of in the past few months about illegal water beads getting into the country via very legal online ordering channels.
Yeah.
So the recommendation, I imagine, then, is for any family out there who has these to just throw them away, get rid of them.
If you have younger children in the house or younger children that might be coming over, I would recommend that. If you have a teenager who likes to play with them or no children in your house at all and you're using them to help with flower arrangements, that maybe is a different thing. But, if there's a chance that a child's coming over or a younger child could be in the environment, even if they're not the one playing with them, get rid of them.
You can use marbles in flower arrangements.
And use marbles in flower arrangements.
I was going to ask, we said when we started it's used a lot in like sensory activities. Do you have a good recommendation for parents who are thinking, all right, I got to get rid of the water beads. My kid still likes to play with that stuff. What's a good substitute?
There's so many different things out there. There's all sorts of different clays and slimes and gels. Beads themselves can, just regular beads in water can mimic it a great deal as well. So I think that there are many other options out there for sure.
Yeah. Ample alternatives aside from something that can cause serious harm and death in children.
Yes, we have seen, unfortunately, a few deaths throughout the nation because of ingestions. Those, again, were the obstructions and the bowel damage situation. But now that we are aware of these other problems, we'll be watching for it more closely. And that's why having access to all of this data out there in the world is really, really important.
Absolutely.
For somebody who wants to learn more or maybe do a little more research, find out more about this family, where can they go?
So there's a whole story about them on healthychildren.org, and the mom herself has amazing social media accounts at That Water Bead Lady.
Ah,
very
good.
Doc Murray, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks for the information. All this and much more will go on foxrochester.com.
Hey, stick around. We've got a lot more to come right here on ARC Rochester this morning, including when we come back, we are once again going behind the story.
Don't forget, take us on the go wherever you are. Stream us live on the 13 WHAM YouTube channel. We're back on the other side of the break.